those organizations out there that service the newcomer community and are thinking about setting up a similar type of platform to reach out to more people, there's a couple of things that we think they should take into account. First is that the staff, the counselors who are behind the platform and interacting with clients, they should be knowledgeable in a wide array of the issues and the problems and the solutions to those problems that clients tend to have over the chat. So the counselors should be knowledgeable about language instruction programs, about employment training or bridging programs for newcomers. They should also be knowledgeable about how to access community service and government services, because those are the kinds of queries that people tend to have when they seek out help through a platform such as this one. The second recommendation we would make is that the counselor should try and make this a safe space and a welcoming space for clients, right? So counselors should try and avoid jumping to conclusions, first of all, because it's easy to fall into that mindset where they think they know what someone needs or what someone will say, because after a certain time of doing this, questions tend to repeat themselves, so it's easy to think ahead and think, oh, this is what you need. But it's important that counselors let people express themselves and express their need and what they're after, right? Because every case, it's slightly different, and they won't know for sure until they let the client fully express themselves. However, at the same time, counselors should also try and build some structures and some processes and some protocols on how to deal with certain kinds of clients or questions, in terms, for example, of what do they do if someone requires longer engagement, right? Does the session need to be transferred over to a telephone or an in-person appointment? So those kinds of things the counselors need to decide on how to build some boundaries around and how to communicate those boundaries to the clients.
Only a handful of participants in our study accessed the online platform for emotional supports. Those that did receive emotional supports found them to be quite helpful, but again, it was only a small number of participants. This is not surprising in the sense that these low numbers are seen within the literature, and we know that emotional support is not always a priority for newcomers because they have multiple competing demands. And we also know that there are huge cultural differences in how people cope and seek supports. So this is why it's very important for settlement agencies to be very responsive in the care that they provide to their clients, so that the type of emotional support or counseling that they offer is culturally responsive and will fit with the values and worldviews of their clients, and also that will be something that's meaningful to them.
In terms of how the organization wants to market the service and the platform to the community, is it going to be presented as a settlement counseling service that encompasses all kinds of needs that newcomers tend to have? So things like finding employment, learning or improving their English, seeking community service.
So counseling services have been offered online for a long time. For example, employee assistance programs have been using those modalities for many years. And with the recent shift to online platforms for many organizations, given the COVID-19 pandemic, this has become more common. However, these types of transitions are quite challenging, and they require a lot of time and energy, and also a lot of training. So the online platform that was evaluated in our study was for settlement services broadly, and counseling was one of those pieces. The results of our study would have looked differently had we been evaluating a platform that was solely dedicated to emotional supports or counseling services. So those are important considerations in terms of understanding how to best develop an online platform within a settlement agency.
Well, online services fit into the picture of settlement services for newcomers in a way that it overcomes a lot of the barriers that they typically face in accessing services. So a lot of these barriers include transportation, maybe isolation in communities or more rural communities, language barriers. Sometimes they're just intimidated in terms of accessing formal services, intimidated or reluctant to access these formal services. So online services has become an increasing area of opportunity for the settlement sector in Canada.